Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, and it is a great time of year because a lot of the dragon wells, the green teas, the LongJings from China are coming in, and they're available. And these are some of the ultimate, the pinnacle of the year, the first crop or the first harvest, the Ming Qian, before the Qingming festival. So this is a chance that we have to look at some of those teas. And that's what I have here today that we're going to go ahead and get started. Basic usual equipment here, the Gaiwan, the traditional Chinese style of tea preparation. Some would say it is the source, the father of the cupping set that's often used with black teas and Indian teas. So I'm scooping out enough here that I'm going to get enough to cover, say, that bottom 1.5 inch diameter of this Gaiwan. And that looks good. I can't really see down to the bottom of that, so let me just kind of close that up for just a moment. Set that off to the side while I get my water. It's been brought to a boil and it's been cooling for a little while, roughly a minute, but it's still going to give us plenty of heat. And this is the way that I prepare a lot of the tea, so they get fairly equal treatment this way. Let me set this water out of the way. Should be enough water also so that a little bit will sit just above the rim, giving us kind of a watertight seal, not letting the air get in there to change the color. Talk about that, and kind of traps the aromas in there too. Let's talk about this tea. As I mentioned, this is a Ming Qian, a before the Qingming festival. That's what that Ming Qian means. Or pre-Qingming is what you may hear, something similar to that. Before Ming is the way it's described as well. This is from China Cha Dao, is the company. It is found it is an eBay store, so you can find it that way on eBay. This is their 2011, this year's Ming Qian LongJing Superior AAA. The grading system that China Cha Dao uses is there's a 5A, which is the top level. After that there's no 4A. Next you go down to the 3A, which this is a AAA. You can get 125 grams for $34.99, $35. Currently, that's current. This is from the West Lake area, the traditional home of LongJing or Dragon Well teas, although it doesn't specify which mountain or which specific estate, you could say. Other things that you want to note is that China does have a certification system or an authenticity seal. With a smaller size, it's not always available. China Cha Dao does point out that if you order 250 grams, it does come with that authentic seal showing that this is a tea, a LongJing from that area, and not. There are some LongJings that are popping up. They're actually grown out in Sichuan, which is West China, across the country. So it's a vastly different location. Let's go ahead, before I get too far, and talk a little bit about this tea and talk about the dry leaf as I do that. So let's go ahead and open this up. Look at a few of these leaves and kind of give a smell as well. As far as dragon wells go, there are very delicate, paler in color. There are some that almost so pale and so subtle and that's an element, or that can be a component or an aspect of being such a new delicate leaf. This one, on the other hand, is a bit greener, and with that I'm getting stronger notes, stronger aromas. One of which is a fairly strong, almost kind of a lemony type of smell. There's something that's just kind of cooling. Again, a light zest, a light kind of a citrusy type element there, that lemony type smell coming up. That's probably the dominant smell that I'm really getting. Looking at these leaves, a lot of these leaves are of course they're pressed flat in the characteristic dragon well type way. Sometimes I hear this called a grasshopper leaf, or grasshopper wing rather. You also see that there are several that are split off in kind of a sparrow tongue, so that you get a fairly young tip with a leaf that has sprung off just to one side or the other side, so that they are like a bird's mouth open with the tongue in the middle. Colors are bright green here, and fairly. I'm getting a lot of one thing that I notice here and there is also dark, clear base at the bottom of the tip there. I should say not the tip, but the opposite end of the tip. Again, straight lines I'm seeing, dark colors indicating that there was a cutting action that actually kind of crimped these leaves. Of course, some of that can also take place during a little bit of the pan searing process that takes place. Other things that I note, I don't see a lot of downy fuzz, and instead I do see some occasional clumps of fuzz that have stuck, because as I understand, what can happen is a little bit of oil from the tea tree the tea leaves is actually collected and used in the pan searing process. A very light tea tree oil, not the tea tree that you may see associated with as an essential oil. This is from the actual tea plant, oils that are collected from the seeds and whatnot that are used to create a very light, oily coating on that in the bowl, the pan where the tea leaves are seared. And when those oils can react, or as you're sliding the leaves in that pan, what can happen is some of the fuzz, the down off of the leaves can be shed and stick or get clumped to certain leaves in that process. So you do see a little bit of those clumps of fuzz down here and there. But I'm going to go ahead now and get on to the pouring here. So go ahead and get my Gaiwan ready. Give a nice pour, just a moment. Okay, let me set that aside. We'll talk about that color in just a moment. Let's go ahead and give this a smell. Talk about the wet leaf here. I'm getting some of the characteristic notes of what happens when there's a little bit of heat process applied here. I'm getting some kind of lima bean type notes, some kind of boiled green bean element as well. So some of the aspects coming off here. Pulling out a few of these leaves, they've kind of opened up, they've become paler green in color. And as I noted, the leaves, talking about the dry leaf, but the wet leaf here, these are 3/4 of an inch to an inch in length for the most part. Let me pull out a couple more. Here's another one that's got quite a few. The tip here has begun to unfurl, and so you've got leaf after leaf folding off the side there. And let me just get one more. And as I look more closely at these leaves, they are, for the most part, a very clean, straight cut as it was separated from the plant. Cleaner and straighter than you would likely expect from a hand pluck. This is like scissors, clippers are used to cut this in such a straight line, which creates some oxidation, which shows in the browning aspect there. For the most part, you get some nice, delicate, tender-looking leaves there. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the liquor. Talk a little bit about that and hold that up for just a moment. Look at that. Got a nice kind of artistic one single leaf floating around there in the bottom. And what you're seeing from this color is a nice, bright yellow-green. This has got a bit more green tinge to it than a lot of the yellow color that can come with a LongJing like this. Okay, aromas so far are fairly light on the nose here, but let's go ahead and get to the taste aspect. good brightness. This is almost glowing yellow-green, and not in some kind of weird radioactive way. This is a nice, bright, vibrant cup. Now, this is not one of those very pale, very subtle, very delicate LongJings that can come extremely early. This one is a bit more mature. It's got some good texture to it. It's got a brothiness to it. It's not astringency level is quite low. There's a little tinge of something there that's got a little component to it. So you're getting some almost some cooked rice aspect to it there. There's something that's got a nice thickness to it, like steamed or boiled rice there. So that's a positive note. There's something on this one as I taste that's there's just something odd about this one, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I tasted this off camera previously. I did not detect this to the extent that I'm getting it here, so I'm not going to comment any further on it. I will go back to talk about previous steepings to say I was able to draw out several steepings from this, fairly consistent. It didn't just drop off and become flavorless or flat. Aftertaste here, I'm still getting a little bit of that kind of cooked rice type of aspect here, which is a little bit, slightly sweet, a little bit of a heat, a little bit of a, almost as if you had lightly toasted or dried out that rice a little bit after it had cooked. So it's got some nice firm, not really firmness, but a good consistency, a good heft to the taste there. Looking at this tea as a whole, I would give this tea a 90 as a LongJing. If you are newer to LongJings, something that's got enough taste to it that you can detect it and appreciate it. Although it's not heavy, it's not overly astringent. It's got some good texture to it as well. And like I said, it keeps going. It was able to hold up after several steepings. So come back to Walker Tea Review, where we can look at one thing that we're going to be looking at in the future is grades of LongJing and how they can affect your choice.